So Dr. Mina had been ignoring the AI conversation for 11 months, not because he didn't believe in it, but because every vendor who walked through his door made it sound like plugging in a toaster, and he'd been around long enough to know that nothing in healthcare plugs in like a toaster. The last vendor, the one with the slide deck and a case study from a hospital 4 times their size, promised implementation in 2 weeks. Felix, sitting in the corner of that meeting, made a sound that was technically a cough, but functionally a verdict. We're back with Dr. Mina, and this time the problem isn't that he's micromanaging, it's that he's frozen. He knows his competitors are already using it. He knows the EHR vendor has been emailing him about AI features for 6 months. He also knows that the last 3 technology initiatives at his practice created more work than they solved, and he can list everyone by name. So he did what Dr. Mina always does when faced with a decision he doesn't trust. He said yes in principle and stalled in practice. Let's revisit next quarter. He'd said that 2 quarters in a row. The thing that changed his mind wasn't a vendor pitch or a competitor's press release. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Maureen walked into his office, closed the door, and told him that the scheduling system had shortened a complex patient appointment to 12 minutes. Since when? He asked. Since the last update. Something in the system is adjusting slot lengths automatically. I caught it because Mrs. Henley's needs 45 minutes and the schedule gave her 12. But I'm one person. I don't catch everything. Dr. Mina called Felix. Is there an AI in our scheduling system? Felix paused the way a person pauses when they're choosing between the honest answer and the comfortable one. There has been an AI in your scheduling system since the March update. There's also AI in the billing denial predictor, the diagnostic imaging pre-read, and the patient flow module. You approved the update. I approved an update, right? Not for AI systems. And then Felix responded, they were in the update. Dr. Mina sat with that for a long time. 4 AI tools running in his practice, making recommendations, adjusting workflows, affecting patient care. No governance policies, no oversight, no one assigned to monitor them, no rollback plan if something went wrong. And something had already gone wrong. A complex patient nearly got a 12-minute slot because an algorithm optimized for throughput instead of clinical need. The question wasn't whether to adopt AI. The AI was already there. The question was that nobody had asked, what do we already have? The honest inventory, the one that starts with opening every system and asking, is there an algorithm making decisions in here? Is the mandatory first step. And it's the step that nearly every clinic skips. They skip it because they assume AI is something you buy deliberately. They don't realize it's something that arrives inside updates, embedded in features, bundled with platforms, and then activated sometimes by default. Dr. Mina's inventory, listen to this, turned up 7 tools. 3 of them have been running for over a year without anyone reviewing their outputs, checking their accuracy, or asking whether the data they were using was complete enough to trust. Grace, not at Dr. Mina's practice, but at the community hospital across town, had gone through the same exercise 3 months earlier. She'd found 11. She told Dr. Mina about it over coffee because they served on the same regional health board. Grace had learned that sharing operational lessons was cheaper than everyone repeating her mistakes. The inventory is humbling, Grace said. You think you're in control. Then you find out the machines have been making suggestions for over a year and nobody's checking the math. The second question, the one that creates the most resistance, is who owns the decision, not who uses the AI, not who purchased it, who is accountable when it gets something wrong. Dr. Mina's instinct was to reassign it to Felix. Felix was IT, AI is technology. Technology is IT's job. Felix's response was measured and devastating. I can tell you whether the system is running. I can't tell you whether a 12-minute appointment for a complex orthopedic patient is clinically safe. That's not an IT question. That's a legal question. That's a clinical question and an ethics question. I can cover one of those barely, right? A multidisciplinary governance committee, clinical, IT, legal, ethics, cybersecurity. Not because Dr. Mina loves meetings, because he ranked meetings somewhere between paperwork and dental work on his list of preferred activities, but because no single person had the full picture. The clinicians understood patient impact. IT understood system architecture. Legal understood liability, and ethics understood the questions nobody else was trained to ask. And cybersecurity understood that every AI tool was also a data pipeline. Every data pipeline was an attack surface. Dr. Mina approved the committee. Then he tried to appoint himself as chair. Grace, who'd been through this, talked him out of it. You can't chair it and be the owner physician. You approve everything because you're too close. You need someone that can tell you no. He appointed his clinical safety officer instead, a role that hadn't existed that week, but that he filled with the most skeptical physician in his group, the one who questioned everything, the one who until now had been a thorn in his side during meetings. The third question, the one that separates clinics that survive AI from the ones that get buried by them, is what happens when the AI gets it wrong. Not if, when. Every AI deployment needs a rollback plan. Escalation triggers that define when a tool gets paused, incident reporting that captures what happened, what data was involved, what clinical decisions were affected, shutdown procedures that can be activated without crashing the rest of the system. All of it defined before deployment, not after the first incident. Before Dr. Mina's practice built rollback criteria for each of the 7 tools, the scheduling optimizer got a hard rule. Any appointment slot shortened below the clinically defined minimum triggers an automatic flag and manual review. The billing denial predictor got a monthly accuracy audit. If the prediction accuracy dropped below a defined threshold, that tool would also be paused and the claims would be routed to manual review. Maureen predictably had a condition of her own. If the system changes something about patient care and I can't see why, I override it every time. Non-negotiable. Nobody argued. Maureen's clinical judgment had outlasted 6 software platforms, 4 consultants, and 2 different EHR vendors. The algorithm could suggest Maureen would decide. By day 30, the practice had an AI review board live, policies approved, and a procurement gate operational. So the question isn't whether your clinic will use AI, it's whether you'll use it with guardrails or without them. And if the answer is without, you're not being bold, right? You're being unaware of what's already running. By day 90, Dr. Mina had a scale decision in front of him, not based on enthusiasm, based on documented evidence. He approved the scale, slowly, with conditions, with monitoring, with Maureen's veto still intact. I trust the system, he said at the review meeting. Then he paused. I also trust the people watching the system. That's the part I was missing before. He told himself he'd been cautious, but the caution that mattered wasn't the 11 months of avoidance, it was the 90 days of governance. The first kind of caution was fear. The second kind was structure. They looked similar on the outside. From the inside, they're completely different things. Dr. Mina still hovers. He still checks things he's delegated. But the AI tools in his practice now run with rules he understands, oversight he trusts, and a rollback plan that he's read. Not because he became a technology enthusiast, but because he became a governance convert, reluctantly, skeptically, and only after Maureen nearly booked a 45-minute patient into a 12-minute slot. That's how most transformation starts, not with vision, with a near miss that makes the status quo more frightening than change. If your clinic is using AI and you're not sure what it's doing, who's watching it, or what happens when it fails, You're where Dr. Mina was 11 months ago. The difference between now and then is 90 days and a committee he didn't want to form. Start with the inventory. Count what you have, then ask who owns it. The rest follows.